Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Conservatives find ourselves in an interesting position. Yes, indeed. kjradio.com, so you can find out more about me and what I talk about on a daily basis. 844-551-8255 if you want to call. We are in a unique position, a place we never figured to be in a free country. We conservatives are the resistance. I know that's weird, isn't it? You're thinking, Kevin, what are you talking about? The resistance is what the left say they are. No. Remember my lessons to you. Hey, class, pay attention. Don't make me slap you. We are the resistance. They told you who you were by telling you who they were. Hashtag resistance. We're going to resist President Trump. We're going to resist. What they're saying, folks, is we conservatives have to resist what has occurred in this country, the coup that happened. See, the people who claim to fight against the police state in the 1960s, these baby boomers that are now in their 60s, late 60s and 70s, these are the very people who stole the government from you. Who made you believe they were the resistance? They were fighting against the tyrannical government. They were fighting to become the tyrannical government. They have created today what is a police state. You don't believe me? Ask Dinesh D'Souza. He was targeted by Barack Obama and imprisoned for things that, quite frankly, the Democrats do on a daily basis, wide open in your face. Mike Flynn. General Mike Flynn, 3-star general. I have met with this man. Great guy. Cleveland, Ohio, in the Republican convention, this guy was floating on clouds. He was part of the Trump administration, or about to be part of the Trump administration. Had an amazing career. One of the leaders in our military, a respected 3-star general, lieutenant general. And this guy gets railroaded, almost goes to prison. And if it weren't for the fact that President Trump, Donald Trump, got elected president, he would probably be in prison, or he'd be taking a plea deal. He took a plea deal, but he's reversed it on the revelation of what we've learned so far in this new investigation about the FBI and all the crooked nature of them. You live in a police state. If they can get a guy like Mike Flynn, who has the ear of the president, who are you? These are the people who managed the coup of the Democratic Republic of the United States. And we have watched this coup play out over the last 2 years in panoramic vision. You have had a front row seat to a bloodless coup. The former administration attempting to subvert the electoral process, the supposedly free and fair election system of the United States that we brag about. This is like watching one of these African dictator things where, Saddam Hussein, I got 100% of the vote. Doesn't that tell you that people love me? It's exactly what we watched. Obama cheated. It's that simple. Obama did everything he could to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. And it isn't because he liked Hillary. Barack Obama cheated because he's an ideologue that said, I can't let the other side win. Now, for leftist America, they are scared. The Democrats are scared to their very foundation, to their evil, crooked cores. They are so scared in America realizing that Barack Obama cheated. Period. Worse yet, President Trump vindicated you. It would have been okay had President Trump sucked. Had he been a terrible president, then they would be saying, see, we told you guys. And you know what? Let me tell you something. These Republican rhinos that Donald Trump has lined up in lockstep with him, they would be more than happy to throw this guy under the bus. There are many of them panicking right now because of the stock market. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Some knucklehead leftist posted when Donald Trump took office, the stock market was 23,400, blah, blah, blah. And Britt Hume corrected him and says, no, it wasn't. It was 19,000. The stock market is still way up under Trump. So what? It fell 1,500, 1,600 points in the last couple of market trading sessions. Okay, it's still way up. But there are people ready to abandon. I don't know. I'm not sure. You can be sure. This market is going to be fine. I don't know what it's going to do. I'm no, market expert or analyst. I'll tell you this. I have money in the market. I've lost money so far. I'm not panicking. President Trump has vindicated you. He's vindicated you because he says, I'm going to run on this platform. I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to take care of immigration. I'm going to repeal Obamacare. I'm going to bring jobs back to America. I'm going to work to make sure that people understand the United States is first, that we're going to have a strong military, blah, blah, blah. And he's done practically every single thing in a year. Undoubtedly, I mean, this isn't Kevin Jackson conjecture. This is people saying, I feel good about being a part of this country again, and he's being fought at every turn. But they are not the resistance. You're the resistance, because what Donald Trump is, he's one of you and one of us, and he's in there fighting against a tyrannical government. And the only way it was going to happen is by us getting him on the inside. They don't like us. We told them what electing a real leader would prove to them, and that we know what we're talking about. But instead of recognizing Donald Trump's accomplishments, leftists fight harder against them, against us, and against America. But we are the resistance. There's a saying, to fly, you must have resistance. I want you to think about that. You want to soar, you want to defy gravity, you must have resistance. So we're facing it, but we are it. We're the resistance. And we're going to soar. Because you know what? We have finally figured these people out. And we flipped the script on them, and they don't know what to do. They've been so used to us just rolling over. We've never resisted. What is conservatives don't we don't fight. We just go, it'll correct itself. You're now fighting. You're the resistance. That's our theme today. And what does that mean? What does that entail? What is your job as a resistor? We'll answer that in a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's a confusing notion that the conservatives are the resistance in this new form of government that we have. It's confusing because we feel resisted, right? We feel, but let me just explain something. We are always resisted because we have common sense. We've always felt resisted. The problem is, and what you probably don't realize, is that things flipped on you. Immigration, they tell you, is good. Illegal immigration is good. Forget the legal system. Nobody cares about the legal immigration system. We have this illegal system that we've got to support. Refugee resettlement is good, even if they're killing you. It's good. Education, academia, it's good, even if it's not educating. It's indoctrinating. So what kids aren't taking stem cells, and America's not the leader in technological advancement any longer because we're focused on social justice? That's a good thing. We're going to make the world a better place. And I could go on. So what your foreign policy stinks, and you let Iran build bombs and North Korea build bombs, everybody threatening everybody. The UN has done nothing. Who cares? Keep funding it. Send it money. See, we've always thought of the government as being part of what we are supposed to support. And what happened was it changed. Government doesn't care about us. Look, I'm not anti-government, but I will promise you this. Your government doesn't care about you. It cares about you. You are an electron in a sea of other electrons. And your job is to do what electrons do. Flow. Go with the flow. Oh, yeah, I'm about to get you an engineering lesson. But you're a resistor. And in electronics, a resistor resists the flow. That's what it does. So if I've got a 100 ohm resistor in one circuit and a 50 ohm resistor in another, you know where the circuit's going to go? You know where the electricity is going to flow? It's going to flow more in the 50 ohm resistor. Because the 100 ohm resistor goes, oh, no, you're not coming this way. And that's what you're doing. You're in the circuit, and it's been flowing now because they've set it up to flow their way, the easy flow of electricity. Why do you think they make students stupid? Why do you think all the Madison Avenue advertisements to get you to do stuff is to make you stupid? They want you to not resist. You've been trained to stop resisting. When Obama was in office, there were scandal after scandal, and there were so many, you were overloaded, and you blew. Resistors blow, and you stopped resisting. You just became you didn't open as a circuit. You just closed down and said, okay, I'm just no more resistance. And you let the current flow is to its heart's content. So now you've got zero resistance. That current is just flowing through that circuit. And that's why Barack Obama says, I'm a scandal-free administration. Knock on wood. Scandal-free. Yep. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. That's Sun Tzu. And he was right. The Democrats, the leftists, whatever you want to call them, they broke our resistance without fighting. They didn't even have to fire a shot. You know how they did it? They ruined families, particularly black families. That was intentional because we are boisterous. Black folks will get in your face. But they ruined the black family. They ruined the education system from the cradle to the grave. You thought, hey, if my kiddo's in a good school, high school, and I work with them on their homework, I'll send them off to college, they'll be good. Your kid came back completely unresistant. Go with the flow. In fact, worse than that, part of it. That's what happened. You became part of it. I listen to people bleeding heart. You say the wrong thing. I see conservatives. Oh, I don't know. Oh, Kevin, can I laugh at that joke? If it's something black, or I say something about Obama and do some allude in any way Let's say I'd say something about Obama and we put watermelon in the sentence. Oh, people get crazy. You've been taught not to resist. You know it. And what happened was you finally got mad enough back in November 2016 where you said, you know what? I'm gonna fight this a little bit. So you stopped resisting. H.G. Wells said the path of least resistance is the path of the loser. I want you to think about that. There are people all the time that go, well, I always take the path of least resistance. I get it. If there's a trail that's been blazed by somebody, you're walking through a place and on campus and they go, hey, there's a shortcut and it's a good way to go. And everybody go. But when you're talking about life, the path of least resistance, that's the loser's path. Look, I've raised kids. I've trained kids. I know who's going to be good at something and who's not, simply by who's willing to put in the work. And you finally, I'm not chastising you, by the way. We're just having a good conversation here. I'm actually proud of you because you now understand what your role is. You are a 1,000,000 ohm resistor in a circuit, and they're used to you being 10 ohms. That current just flows through you like butter, like a raging river. And suddenly you're 1,000,000 ohms. And that current hits you and goes, uh-oh. And it looks for another place now. It looks for an easier way, an easier route. That's exactly what's happening right now with this investigation. What happened in the past, the Democrats could have told you that Republican FISA memo is a joke, man. You don't believe it. And you'd go, well, they do have a point. And then they'd release theirs. And they'd say, we've refuted everything and haven't refuted anything. But the media would tell you, oh, the Democrats have refuted it. And you'd go, oh, okay, that's good. That's a good thing. And now you go, when that Republicans released it, you were outraged. You became a bigger resistor. Then the Democrats released theirs and you became a bigger resistor because you were even more outraged that they didn't even refute the Republicans. They just tried to come over the top with nonsense and you go, I don't buy it. And you became more resistant. And the Democrats are going, holy cow. What do? They're building up more resistance. You, America, conservative America, you are the resistance. And you have a guy in there who is resisting the very government that he runs. You may not like the tactics. You may question what's going on there. But let me tell you something. Donald Trump's smart. I'm convinced he's a lot smarter than most of these people want to give him credit for. And as I said, get him in the target zone. That's what he's doing so far. And there's a guy that... well-respected journalist friend of mine who says, Kevin, I think Mueller might actually be on Trump's side. I want to talk about Mueller's potential interview with Donald Trump when we come back. But I want you to understand, we're going to be talking resistance, and you are indeed the resistance.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. The Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, campus reform is at it again, exposing liberal bias on the college campuses around the country. This stopped New York City.
This time they headed to John Jay College in New York City, asking students to react to quotes from President Trump's State of the Union address. The only problem is they weren't actually quotes from President Trump. They were actually quotes from President Obama. Watch this.
China wants to write the rules. That would put us at a disadvantage.
Everything is out the window, like, China.
Donald Trump should, mind his own business and, just focus on America.
It's like he doesn't think before speaking and how it's going to offend a lot of people.
Joining us now is Media Director for CampusReform.org and the man behind those videos, Mr. Cabot Phillips. Cabot, good to see you again. So what'd you do? Tell us what happened.
We went to campus. We wanted to test what students thought of President Trump's State of the Union, but we wanted to see if they actually were giving him a fair shakedown or if they were committed to hating whatever he said. and what they would think of the words of someone who they all beloved, which is President Obama. Person after person said that all of the quotes we were giving them were racist, they were short-sighted, they were evil, and then we told them it was President Obama. They were quite shocked, and they weren't too happy with me. One student threatened to beat me up, said I shouldn't come back to campus, and all I was trying to do was expose the bias and show that people many times don't make up their mind based on policies, but based on personalities, and that's wrong.
And right, and you told people you were actually at I think it was NYU, asking people what they thought of the speech days before the speech, and they answered the question. Now, you went ahead and asked the students, is there some bias on campus? And they admitted it. Let's listen.
I think there's a bias against President Trump when it comes to hearing a speech like the State of the Union.
Yeah, I do think there's a bias.
I guess bias is really bad in general. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean it's not right.
I am definitely not a huge fan of him. However, I think being closed-minded is probably more dangerous than anything he could do.
That's interesting. Cavett, go ahead.
Yeah. I thought it was encouraging, at least that students were somewhat willing to admit their bias. And that's what it's going to take for people to look at items, look at policies objectively, and then make up their mind. But this really does start in the classroom, where professors have created an environment. Everything dealing with President Trump has to be evil, and everything with President Obama is taught to them that it was great, it was wonderful, it was all sunshines and rainbows. And that's where I think this comes from. And that's what we've covered extensively at Leadership Institute's Campus Reform, that innate bias on campus. And we need to expose that so that we can start to change it.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com, 844-551-8255. That's an interesting clip to me for a few reasons. One is what the guy says when I ask these people these questions about the State of the Union and then reveal to them that they weren't Trump's answers and they weren't Trump's comments, they were Barack Obama's. They got mad. Some of them got mad. One guy says you shouldn't come back on campus doing that. And I want you to think about the mentality of somebody who you've been tricked and they go, okay, nope, that was President Obama. And then you're like, well, you just tricked me and you got me to say the thing that I wasn't supposed to say. I want you to think about what it takes for you to be mad about that. You have been informed that you've been wrongly thinking of something, of somebody, and instead the other person said it. So you've been educated. Somebody has actually imparted knowledge upon you, and you're mad. When does that happen? Look, I get it. You're arguing a point with somebody. I know that's the actor that was in that movie. No, it isn't. It is. It was Doogie Howser, and it looked just like that boy. And then somebody goes, "No, that was a son. That was De Niro's son, Chachi or something." And oh, okay. All right then. Well, I get it. It's embarrassing a little bit when it's just nonsense. I put the thing over in the corner. It's not in the corner. I swear it's in the corner. If I come over there and look in the corner and it's not there. Oh, here it is. We've all done this. I mean, look, if you're a human, I guarantee you, and you're over the age of 20, you've had a situation like that where somebody goes, no, you're wrong. It could have been the carburetor that was in a 1967 GTO, or, how many points past center. You have to put the points in the tap in the spark plug. I don't want to pretend like I know something about the motors, but the point is, in some place in your life, somebody's come along and said, nope, that's wrong. And geez, if you got a smartphone, you've pretty much learned to keep your mouth shut, because no matter what you say, somebody can go boop boop. Nope, that's wrong. I just Googled it. So it's happened on college campuses. A guy goes out, plays a little trick on some students, says, hey, in President Trump's State of the Union, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's awful. He should just shut up and leave things on. That was Obama. I'm just going to leave. And they're mad. And look, I can tell you a lot about college campuses because I got my fellowship at the Robert J. Dole Institute of Politics. And I went class to class getting people to come to the fellowship. And I can tell you, there was only one professor of the, roughly dozen that I went to their class to invite the students to come visit, me and Joseph Phillips for our fellowship. There was only one class, one professor who said, I'm encouraging my students to go, Kevin. It was a black woman, political science, believe it or not. She was the one who said, go to it. And I came to her class. It was the most inviting. I spoke. They asked questions. I was shocked. But all these white professors, and particularly white male professors, let's just call them eunuchs, okay? These guys fought us tooth and nail. Now, I've told this story a few times, so if you've heard it, disregard. But one of the professors, Joseph, and I go into his classroom, and we're excited. In fact, he was the first of the second one, and we're excited about it. And I said, "Hey, listen, we're doing a fellowship. It's going to be over at the the annex building, and we're explaining." And I said, "We're going to be explaining black conservatism." And the professor interrupts and says, "Oh," he's a man, and he goes, "If I'd known you were conservatives, I wouldn't have even let you into the classroom." And I didn't skip a beat. I said, "See, class, if it doesn't matter what political ilk you are, you're welcome to come over and be part of our fellowship, see what we talk about, because we're going to explain to you why the black conservative exists." I said, "But your professor here, he's already given you a hint about himself. He doesn't want you to learn anything except what he wants you to wants to teach you. He's going to give you biased information. I invite your professor to come over and debate with us on black conservatism." I said, he's a white dude. I go, he obviously knows a lot about it, right? And I'm pointing at him, and the class chuckles, but it was funny. They kind of were like, they didn't like laugh outright. It was like, "Oh, can we laugh?" It was I wish we could have filmed this, honestly. So the guy says, he wants to interrupt, and I'm disregarding him. I said, "But here," and I left it like this. I said, "So here's the deal. Your professor wants to teach you one thing, his thing. He's completely biased. He's already said that. I will explore his point of view, which is probably what your point of view is, and then I'm going to give you something else to think about, because that's all I want to do, is I want to make you think. Joseph and I want to make you think about why we exist, because he says we don't exist, and when he does admit that we exist, he says we're evil people, we're vile. I beg to differ." And I said, and I'll tell you, and he goes, and I said something about debating, and he goes, "I've never lost a debate, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "That's because," and I let him interrupt. I said, "That's because," and I'm looking at the students the entire time. I go, "Your professor's never lost a debate because he's never had to debate. He lives in an echo chamber of ignorance. And if he were to debate me," I said, "here's what's going to happen. If he dare take me up on this, I'm going to have a platter made, engraved, and it's going to have his butt on it, because I'm going to hand it to him." And we left the class. That's what happens. The second part of this campus interview. So I want to go back to just real briefly recap. The guy gets mad. One of the guys gets mad because he's been educated that his view on President Trump was wrong, and that the view that who he should be mad at should be Obama. That rocks his foundation. So he's like, "We ought to kick your butt, man. You shouldn't be coming back on campus." He's telling you what that campus temperature is. Now then, the second part of it, the interviewer says, "Well, is it biased against Trump?" And he says they readily admit they're biased against Trump. I want you to think about that from a leftist perspective. These are the people that call themselves tolerant, right? They readily admit we're biased. We're tolerant, but we're biased. Really? So here's what I always look at. What's the divide between where you are and where we need you to be? They do recognize their bias. They recognize they're wrong and they're mad. That's step one. That's stage one. They don't want to admit it. Because what's the first step in the 12-step program? I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. And this is my name, and I'm an alcoholic, or I'm a drug dealer, or whatever. So we're very close to beginning the 12-step program, and that's where we have to start. I don't know that asking those questions is going to do it, but somehow we've got to figure this out as a society.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
So, Doctor, last week it was all about the Democrats saying we have to redact all of the national security secrets in this Republican memo. It's going to reveal far too much. It's too dangerous. Now the situation is totally reversed. We shouldn't redact anything in the Democrat memo that's about to be released. Everything should be there for the public to see. Your opinion on all this?
As my good friend Chris Plant, the radio show host, says, if the Democrats didn't have two standards, double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. Look, can we just remind ourselves what Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi said a few days ago? They said that if the Republican memo, the Nunes memo, is released, it will be the end of the world. Right. Sources and methods will be disclosed. What happens? The memo isn't redacted one scintilla. The president, nobody has to redact it. It comes out. Nothing undermines national security. There's no sources and no methods unveiled. All we find out is that the Obama administration, Adam Schiff's buddies, were weaponizing the DOJ and the FBI to illegally spy on American citizens. Adam Schiff is a liar.
Well, just to focus on what they were saying last week as opposed to this week. Last week they were saying that this is so dangerous, the Republican memo had to be redacted or perhaps not shown at all. Right after it's released and we see these explosive elements that you've described, we hear from the Democrats, oh, there was nothing important in there. Either it's important or it isn't important. You can't have it both ways.
You can't have the memo, the Republican memo, and its unveiling trigger Armageddon and then 72 hours later be a nothing burger. This is the Democrats. This is their argument. Either it's incredibly dangerous or it's nothing. And the other thing is, David, can we just remember for the last 50 years, what has the left been about? What have the Democrats been about? Let it all out there, whether it's the Pentagon Papers, whether it's deep
no matter what happens to the FBI or the CIA or any other intelligence agency.
Welcome back, resistance, everybody. That's what our theme is today, resistance. You are the resistance. And I know we're not used to being that because we are the type of people that like to go with the flow. We don't rock the boat. There's no boat to rock because we're all seekers of tranquility. Conservatives, you really are seekers of tranquility. You do things by the book because when you do things by the book, it's easier. You know what I mean? You're the type of people that go, look, I'll keep my car tuned up because that way I don't have to worry about it, the likelihood of it breaking down on the highway. You plan. You look at everything down the road. You're the people that collect trading cards and gold and silver and stamps and baseball cards and things like that because you go, this will be worth something down the road. You plan for vacations. You plan for college education. You plan for the unforeseen things in life. You get long-term disability. You know what I mean? That's what you people do. That's white people stuff right there. If you really want to know, people will say, Kevin, why don't black people support Republicans? Because we haven't been taught how to plan. We haven't been taught about the future, leaving things to kids. I'm just being honest with you. I've said this many times. I remember I had a stamp. My stamp collection was a joke. I took stamps that had the postal marking, like it had been stamped, the letter received. And I would peel some of those off or cut them off with scissors, and I would just find different ones and I put them in my book. Now, I remember seeing a buddy of mine, his name is Joel. I remember seeing Joel's stamp collection, pristine from the post office in little plastic inserts, and I looked and went, holy cow. It was such a revelation that I had no clue what I was doing. I got stamps that have been with the stamp across it. They're not even pristine. You couldn't use them. They had no monetary value. And of course, because they were stamped, even in the future, they had no value. But yeah, I had those stamps. That was my collection. And Joel has pristine stamps, all different ones from the post office. These are the flower collection. This is the monetary collection. This is the civil rights collection. And they're all in these beautiful plastic inserts and things. And it's in a book. And he's got binders of these books. It was like a little library in his room. I went home and I didn't cry about it, but I was like, well, I can't do that because we were poor. To go tell my grandmother, I need you to buy me binders of books so I can put my stamps in it. And oh, by the way, I can no longer collect stamps that have been stamped, expired. I got to go to the post office and buy new stamps. My grandmother would be bored. Unless you're going to mail letters, you're not getting these stamps. I mean, period. It was night and day. Anyway, I look at how forward into the future, people look, the people that understand the rules and play by the rules and get it done. And then I look at the other side. And I'm telling you the reason why black folks, we are conservative to our core, but we don't understand how to organize and do things in this way that looks to the future of where are we investing ourselves. So we keep investing in nonsense. We invest in the Democrats, believing the lies that they've told. And that's why we are where we are. Back to this Gorka thing, and we've talked about this. They said it's too dangerous, don't leak it, blah, blah, blah. Not a single thing redacted in the Republican memo. And I told you guys the other day, I said what Adam Schiff is trying to do is he's trying to set up Donald Trump by saying, we're going to put things in here you have to redact. What a childish thing. I mean, like Trump was going to release this and say, look, the Democrats planted a bunch of stuff in here that we can't tell you. Now they're going to pretend that we're the bad guys, but we're not. We're the resistance. We're the people telling you that this government has been corrupted by these criminals. And these are not people that go to a bodega and steal $50 in cigarillos or whatever. These are people who are stealing this republic right from under your very eyes, imposing a police state that can get anybody it chooses. It will shut you down. It will ridicule you. It will turn this nation against you. It will then imprison you and throw away and threaten everybody beyond you. In other words, around you. It'll threaten your kids. It'll threaten your best friends. That's what that's what would happen. Ask yourself, the people that were afraid of Hillary Clinton getting elected, they didn't like her. People don't like Hillary Clinton. They gave Barack Obama the chance thinking he would change things, really legitimately change things. They were giving Hillary a chance because they knew that the fix was in. I used to ask people all the time, I go, if Hillary's so popular, why can't she fill any venue? She got started the Scooby tour and in that stupid van went into a little truck stop. Nobody noticed her. Nobody cared. And if she was wrapped up like, nobody's going to notice me, she was hoping they would. They had cameras at the ready and nobody said a word. Those truckers are like, yeah, okay, let me pay for my gas. And then they got out of there. Nobody cared. Then she did 3 tour, like breakout, like Hillary's coming out. I want the world to know. And she did this 3 times, 3 announcements of her candidacy. Not a single one of them filled the room. There was a situation in a black church, no exaggeration. They thought they were expecting thousands. They brought the room, they closed the room off so that it would look better. There weren't 75 people in this black church that holds thousands. It's a mega church. I think in Philadelphia or Cleveland, I can't remember where. Hillary couldn't get, there were more Secret Service and Hillary staffers than there were members of that church that came to see Hillary Clinton. The reason why Hillary Clinton was given any amount of respect as a candidate, the reason why the DNC rolled over, Bernie Sanders rolled over, and many other Democrats rolled over was one simple reason. They knew Hillary Clinton would be president. They just knew it. And nobody wants to face a vindictive, absolute witch like Hillary Clinton, because Hillary will do the things that she has done to people that have gotten in her way is legendary. You just ask Juanita Broderick, whom I will have on the show at some point. That's why. Very simply, they did not want to cross her and the people around her. And Valerie Jarrett said it before with the Obama administration. She said, there will be hell to pay to the people that don't follow along the lines with us. That's what Democrats do. They will threaten you. It's not willful cooperation with them. It is you do this or else. And that's where they find themselves now and in big trouble, because now people go, okay, it's safe to come back in the water. The sharks are gone. The swamp's been drained.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, members of the Resistance. Kevin Jackson here, kjradio.com. You are the Resistance. I know that's a shock to many people's system, but you are, because we're not used to having that role. As conservatives, we go with the flow. Talked about it earlier. But you found out that the flow is against you. You've been swimming upstream for decades. You felt it most in the last decade, and you finally said, you know what? I'm no longer going to be going with the flow. You weren't getting anywhere. You work harder, you get less. You play by the rules, you get penalized. And you finally said, you know what? I'm going to change the course of the river. And good for you, you did it. Moshe Sherrod said, so we need people who will remain steadfast in any hardship and who have a high degree of resistance. That's what you're about. Get used to it. Get used to the idea that you get up in the morning and you're ready to, anybody, fight. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's an acquaintance, Peter, out of California. He listens to the show. And we were talking about the number of people who have finally awakened in the Republican Party, said, you know what, enough is enough. Very wealthy people who have sat on their hands. People who may in the past have been Bush supporters, supporters of the Rhino establishment, who are now saying, you know what, that's not what's going to defeat this thing that we are resisting against. They're finally recognizing it for what it is. It is a deep state, deeply rooted antagonism against America, the American way of life, the things that you teach your kids. Fairness and fair play. Those rules don't apply to the people that we resist. These elitists believe they should run the show. I actually heard a guy interviewing about immigration, and he says the experts in immigration should be the ones that determine if we build a wall. Not you Americans. You shouldn't set the policy. They don't need to listen to you. There are experts that can do it. And Tucker Carlson asked him, so what, there's like 4,000 people that should be setting all the policy for the America? Why do we even have a democratic republic? A democracy is what Tucker said. Why? That's exactly the question that the left is asking every single day. Why do we need you? What do you think you know? Who are you to tell us that we have to elect a guy who's never run for office, who's got no real chance of winning, doesn't know how to legislate, isn't a politician? Who are you to tell us that an accomplished businessman can run this country? You know who we are? We're the resistance. We're the people that say, we've seen what you've done. We know how you operate. You are crooks and criminals, and enough is enough. There's a saying, most of us live two lives. I've talked about it, but not in this context. They say there's the life we live, and there's the unlived life within us. And between the two stands the resistance. Who do you want to be? You know, I don't really care about memories, you know, like what am I going to be remembered as? Some people are going to talk about me down the road, a few years, maybe after my death. Other people won't give a crap, you know, they don't care. But here's the deal. Neither do I. But what I do care about is what's going on right now. What it impacts and how it impacts people, congratulations. I'll be gone to a better place. But I care about it now. And it isn't because I want to win. It's because it's right. It's righteous. It would be like seeing an animal in the road that's hurt and trying to help it, or a human being that's in distress and helping. It's the right thing to do. Do I have to do it? No. Do I need to go out of my way? Do I have something that I want to do? Yeah. But is it more important than what's happening in that moment? The answer to me is no. And that's why we resist. We get up every day and do that. A guy named Billy Corgan said, if I have resistance to something, it means there's something wrong. The resistance to me is a sign of fear. And what he's telling you is you must tackle that fear. You must address that fear. And that's what we've done. Good for us. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. We couldn't have picked the best time. We started in 2008. I did anyway. Most of us did. I still say to many people, how political were you prior to Obama? Many of us weren't even in the game. It's sad to say because Bush was he's a horrible president. He really was. But many of us weren't tuned in because it wasn't having the impact. And then finally something came to be. And I got to tell you, thank your lucky stars for Barack Obama. This is the one place where you can thank him because he made you so politically aware that you finally went, wow, I finally figured out I've been swimming against the tide. But that doesn't mean you go with the flow. It means you turn that tide. See, there's an ebb and a flow. Waxing and waning. And we have decided we're going to turn the tide. It isn't about the direction we've been swimming. We swim in the right direction every day. I promise you do. You do it by the book. And that should be rewarded. But doing things by the book doesn't get rewarded in this world. Not in this leftist utopia where everything is backwards. So good for us. Now let me tell you something. I'm going to make you feel really good today. I'm going to tell you why the Republicans are going to whoop the absolute heads of leftists in 2008, this year in November 2018. And Bernie Goldberg wrote this great piece about it. And it encapsulates so many of the things that I have felt that there's no reason for me to talk about it. I'll just tell you what Goldberg says. But feel good. There's an old saying, resistance is futile. No, it isn't. Not anymore. All the rules changed on November of 2008. November the 8th of 2008. All the rules changed. The Democrats, nothing that they do applies anymore. None of the tricks that they have work. Adam Schiff, all of them, they are scrambling. They don't know what to do because they're completely ineffective. And you know what? There is no other playbook for lying, lecherous snakes, scoundrels, scurrilous rats. There is no other book. So I'm so glad you're here. kjradio.com. 844-551-8255. We got a lot to talk about. A lady sent me a note about the Super Bowl. I want to cover that, so we may do a little bit of listener, viewer, or whatever you call it, listener mail. But I definitely want to get into this thing about why the Republicans are going to win in 2018 so you can relax.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So there's been some discussion about the tax cuts that were originally proposed by President Trump. And the reason why I say that, I want to cover a story that happened last year back in October and the outcome. By the way, kjradio.com is where you can get a hold of us, 844-551-8255 if you want to call. So here's the deal. I've been talking about Donald Trump and trade. He talked about TPP, NAFTA, etc. And trade is one of those things that you can't adjust right away. You can only you can put your policy in effect, but it doesn't impact because you've got things that there's already stuff in process. But so I'm going to talk about what Trump has done in the way of trade. It's been impactful, but the numbers won't show up for a little bit of time. And this is where the left yet again are going to be in big trouble. So here, this report came out and it showed, this was back in October, and it says the U.S. trade deficit widened in September and remained on track in President Obama's first year to exceed the 2016 level. And this is from a Commerce Department report. It says the trade gap, which measures the difference between imports and exports, increased 1.7% in September to $43.5 billion. The deficit for the first 9 months of the year totaled $405 billion compared to $370 billion in the same period in 2016. So they're saying Trump has added to the trade deficit in his first year, roughly, year in office. It says, during the presidential campaign, Trump and his surrogates railed against the size of the deficit with his key campaign aide, Peter Navarro, who is now a White House advisor, asserting they could eliminate the trade deficit within a year or two. Okay? The trade gap with China, which Trump repeatedly blasted last year, decreased slightly in September to $34.6 billion. So the biggest deficit that we have in trade is with China, and that was reduced. But overall, the deficit increased. Now, let me explain why that happened, and then I'm going to tell you why the left are going to yet again get a good heaping helping a crow. So the reason why it decreased with China is because President Trump is focused on China. Now, one of the first things that he did when he became president was he got the embargo lifted on American beef. I don't know if you guys remember that. We talked about it on the radio. It went with a lot of nobody cared in the media because it was like, they didn't want to give him any credit. The Barack Obama didn't sell American beef to China. They pretended we had mad cow disease, even though it's hardly ever a case in America. I can't even remember the last case of mad cow disease, and they embargoed our beef. So we couldn't ship it. President Trump got that lifted. Then he got coal. He stopped the shipment of North Korean coal and shipped our coal. Now, that was more symbolic than it was a strategic trade move. But still, he showed I can get China to work with us. Now, subsequent to that, he went to China, and we talked about it on the show. He took his magic wand. Bing! He hit somebody with the hat, the rabbit popped out, and the next thing you know, the rabbit said, "Ni hao, how you doing?" And we ended up getting 183, I believe. What you aren't going to know the number. But 183 or so different products now that can be shipped to China that previously couldn't. And the Chinese lessened the tariff on goods and services on those products from roughly by 10%, from 17% roughly down to 7%, which is a huge, that's like somebody told me it was a 63% reduction in tariffs on those products. So that means a lot of more products are going to be able to go into China. So the reason why I want to focus on the fact that the Chinese number dropped, even though as I said, the trade trade gap went up 1.7% in the month of September, which is the government ends their fiscal year in September. It's a big deal that with Donald Trump focused on China. So I want you to think about everything I just described with China, who, by the way, we have the largest deficit with. It's over almost $400 billion. So that number decreased. The rest of it, so our next biggest trading partner, I believe, is Mexico. It's either Japan or Mexico. So, and we've already started dealing with Canada, because Donald Trump said we're no longer going to import your lumber. We're going to use American lumber. And that was but our trade deficit with Canada is roughly $11 billion. So it's not huge. Mexico, it's $58 billion or so. And so he's already starting to work on that in part of the build that wall strategy. Mexico's trade deficit will go down, unquestionably. And Donald Trump will say, so we had a trade deficit of $58 billion with Mexico. That's down to $37 billion. And he's going to go, there's your wall. I promise you that's what's going to happen. But here's my point to all of this. There were probably 6 or 7 media outlets, lamestream media, fake news. Donald Trump promised that he was going to deliver on trade. And I'm telling you, go back and look at October of 2017. You'll see article after article written about how much of a failure he was. It didn't happen. Now, as I said, Peter Navarro says it's going to take us a year or two, but we're going to get this trade deficit down. No problem. So he's done. Year one, by the way, when you see October numbers, you're going to start seeing it go down. November numbers, it'll go down. December numbers, it'll go down. By November of 2018, this year, you're going to watch that trade deficit just continue to dwindle. It's going to. Now, the media's not going to report about it. I'm warning you right now. You're going to have to be the Pied Pipers of this, because the media is not going to give Donald Trump any credit. But that number is going to dwindle down, and eventually it's going to be much smaller. Now, they're not going to give him any credit unless he makes it zero. But that number, which I think right now we've got a trade deficit of the total is almost $600 billion. And I'm just going from memory on this. You guys can look it up. But it's a significant number. Imagine if we are on equal trade, par trading with people. So that $600 billion that's going out of our economy every year is now staying in. I'm not going to round it up and tell you it's $1 trillion, but it's a lot of money. $600 billion. Think about that, electrifying companies in the United States, into this economy. Because if we don't have a trade deficit, those products, we're shipping equal amounts of products to and fro. That's telling you that $600 billion is now recirculating in the American economy. Trump's counting on, he doesn't have to, but he is counting on that. He's bringing these businesses back into America, manufacturing, reducing the trade deficit by saying, no, you're going to take these. If you're going to do business with us, you're going to take our products. He's going to force these countries to take our products. And it's going to be successful. And the left are so fearful of this. I'm enjoying it. So have your fun, left. This October, it's doom and gloom. This tax policy of Donald Trump is going to crush the economy. It's that they're blaming the tax policy for what's happening in trade right now. But watch what happens in a year. You heard it here first.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I cheered against Obama. I admit that. Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Black man cheering against Barack Insane Obama. Some might consider that cheering against America. But I didn't see it that way. Remember when Limbaugh said, I'm not, betting on Obama. I'm not going to cheer for this guy. He's ideologically opposed to me. Now, I know that my cheering against Obama and those that are cheering against Trump, they feel the same way that I did. They justify their opposition to President Trump because philosophically they differ from him. See, we're all ideologues to some degree. And that prevents us from cheering for the other team. I've never gone to an event where I represented my team and I was cheering for the other team. And I know on a rare occasion where you've got two kids in college and they play on different teams or something like that, maybe you do. But for the most part, when you have set your ideology, when you go, I'm for Alabama, and you're playing South Carolina is the enemy. That's how it works. It's human nature. Let's just admit who we are when we are talking about humans, right? And in our case, we are justified. Conservatism is justified because the other side of this argument are a bunch of anti-Americans. They hate us for being pro-American. Now, ironically, I suspect the left feel the same way in their twisted dementia. So who's right? Well, we are. That was a setup, silly. We are. See, because the difference is this. I didn't cheer for Obama because I know he's wrong. I know nothing this man was going to do would work. And you know what he did? He proved me right. He proved all of us right. We didn't hate him because he was black. I certainly didn't. I'm black too. Why would I hate him? Oh, Kevin, because you're a self-hating coon, butt Negro, blah, blah, blah. Step and fetch it to the white man. Nope. I didn't hate Barack Obama because of his color or he's half white or half black or whatever. I hated his policies. I hated his ideology. I knew it wouldn't work. Why? Because I'm a smart person. And to be honest with you, you don't have to be that brilliant to know. Study a little bit of history, understand a little bit about economics and finance, and you get it. So I knew it wouldn't work. But, here's the big but. That I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. The big but here is we knew it wouldn't work. And it didn't work. And so if it doesn't work, then we're justified. Had it worked, I would have been saying, wow, who knew? I back up. I'm wrong. And then I would have had to go and do a lot of soul searching. That's the but. If it had worked, I would have said, I don't understand this. There's something wrong with my logic in terms of how finance and economics works, how the system works. If Barack Obama had not printed $1 trillion a year, he stabilized the economy, he brought millions of jobs year one or even over the period that he was in office, millions of new jobs, high-paying jobs, raised the wages, got America's credit back in the AAA standard or whatever the ratings are, had taken care of protecting our borders, was taking care to make sure that Americans were not being attacked by terrorists, that we weren't being overrun with a bunch of banditos who want to live here for free and thwarting our legal immigration system, and on, I would say, wow, where did I screw up? I wouldn't try to rationalize. I wouldn't go, well, it's only doing this because of that, it is, blah, blah, blah. I would go, whoa, shoot, let me go learn something. I thought I knew it. And I wouldn't be mad about it because we would be doing well. And I would say to myself, holy cow, if the Democrats, now I'm not going to tell you I agree with all of their, transgender this and LGBT stuff like that. I would have disagreed with that, but I would say financially speaking, this dude is a rock star. And as far as transgender goes and LGBT issues and things like that, if Barack Obama had said, look, just live and let live, how about we do that? I would have gone along with it. We pretty much do, don't we, conservatives? We don't really care. If you want to cross-dress, cross-gender, whatever, I don't really care. Here's where I care. I don't want to pay for it. Sorry. It's not my issue. I got my own set of problems. So, all he had to do was perform. Is that so difficult? I know with the left, it's always try. He tried. Left doesn't work so good when it's theoretical. God would be so good if every child were educated. Yeah, sounds good. How about this? It would be so good if every child were educated with a good education, where they could actually use that education in a practical manner so that they could find out exactly what they want to do in life, and we wouldn't have to re-educate them. We wouldn't have to spend waste money on useless things that they're never going to do again. That would be good. I would vote for that education in a minute. The problem is we don't. We allow this ruse of education to continue to occur, and I hope Betsy DeVos gets on this. But the difference, folks, is in results. It's that simple. The left does not care about results. That's why we are right. Our ideas are, I'll put it to you this way. If I have a concept and I go, this concept is good and we should be doing blankety blank, and it doesn't work, I abandon the concept. I go, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done it. And then if somebody comes along and goes, hey, I'm about to do that, I'd go, you know what? That doesn't work. Let me correct that. I tried it. It didn't work for me. My recommendation is ask a few other people before you embark upon this course of action, because I checked with 3 people. They told me not to do it. I did it and I failed. So there you go. Go forth and conquer, young man. So I would at least warn you. I'm not going to tell you what to do and what not to do. But when it comes to Obama, we knew what was going to happen. We have a lot of history to go back on, and he disregarded it. Philosophically, in many other areas, like protecting us, letting Muslims infiltrate our government and our society are things that I philosophically differ with. Had he taken the tact that he promised to take with immigration and these travel bans and things like this, and he said, let's respect the American way of life, things would have been dramatically different. But he didn't do that. Here's the point of it all, folks. Donald Trump has had a year that would make the average leftist go, I got to take pause. I have to look at my situation differently and understand that, wow, why is this guy being so successful? But they don't do that. They cheer when the market loses 500, 600, 1,000 points. They cheer it. They celebrate the idea that people are theoretically losing money. I mean, you're not lost until it's done. They don't want to see Trump win, even though he's proving that he's a winner. And Stephen Hayes, who was a never Trumper, he wrote a piece on this in Town Hall, and he says this: the unseemingly sight of nearly the entire Democratic congressional delegation sitting on their hands and clinging to their chairs throughout Donald Trump's State of the Union speech is further evidence that they want America to fail on Trump's watch. Hundreds of American companies are bringing jobs to America, paying American workers bonuses. Democrats sat stone-faced. The lowest black unemployment rate in 40 years. Democrats smirked. We are defeating ISIS in the Middle East. Ho-hum. Many on the left are suffering from a severe disease of anti-Trump derangement syndrome. ATDS sufferers crave bad news. In bright, sunny economic sky, they point to the single cloud. Now, I'm going to say this. Stephen Hayes was a guy I watched at the Republican convention plotting against Donald Trump. Him, Billy Crystal, and there was one other guy. And they cannot stand Donald Trump. And he's actually writing a piece now saying, whoa, hold on a minute. And all of this goes to what I'm going to be talking about today, which is why we are going to clean their clocks in November of this year. This is what I'm pointing to. He said this. The other day I was on CNN sparring with April Ryan of the American Urban Radio Networks, who is, to say the least, not friendly to Trump. When I mentioned all of the companies that are hiring more workers, paying bonuses or raises to their employees, including as many as 1 million Walmart employees, I thought this might elicit some positive reaction. Instead, she complained that Walmart is closing many of its Sam's Club stores, resulting in employees being laid off. Yes, the Sam's Club closures impact about 9,000 employees, and though many of them have been reassigned to Walmart stores. Meanwhile, about 100 times that number will get raises or bonuses. I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me exactly like that with some stupid leftist that sent me a note, and we're going to talk about why we're going to win later this year.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Leftists cheer against Donald Trump, and they're cheering against America. They're cheering against you. They're cheering against your victory. Why? Because ideologically, they're losers. And the only way they can feel like they're winning is if they make sure you are losing. And because Trump is winning, the only way they can pretend to be winners is they must make you feel like a loser. Ergo, in the twisted logic of leftism, winning is losing and losing is winning. Welcome to the Kevin Jackson Show, folks. That's what we've been talking about. A leftist sends me a note. On the report of 200,000 jobs being created, he says, it's all fake news. He says, I just saw where, and he named 3 companies that were laying off. And he says, that's 40,000 jobs that have been impacted in the Trump economy. And I said to him, are you really this stupid? I said, do you not think that they recognize that in the 200,000 jobs that were created? I said, did you make this complaint in the time of Barack Obama? When he was supposedly growing the economy, do you think companies were not laying off during his period? During his era? Of course they were. Companies lay off. It's competition out there, dude. There's no guarantee you're going to have a job at Sam's when Walmart's doing well, or Costco's out there competing against you, or Kroger or somebody else. There are winners and losers. But overall, see, there's this report that comes out. It's called the Economic Report, the Jobs Report. And it said, despite losing these 40,000 jobs you're talking about, we added 200,000. That's the deal. Some winners, some losers. But in the time of Trump, lots more winners. And I honestly think, you guys will think I'm kidding. I don't think he gets it. This guy's name is Justin. And he's been arguing with it. He says, I deleted stuff off my Facebook page. I'm like, dude, why would I delete your idiot stuff? I want people to see how stupid you are. If it's a Facebook, if you're getting deleted off Facebook on my page, Facebook's doing it. Maybe there's a bot out there going, let's hide stuff of stupid leftists so the right won't get it. But it isn't us. Anyway, Stephen Hayes, who was an anti-Trump guy, he writes this article and for Town Hall, and he's talking about you can't deliver good news about the Trump economy or anything else to the left. They cheer for America to fail. It says liberals have been protesting Walmart pay scales for years. Now, Walmart's raising their minimum wage by $2 an hour, but the left is angrier than ever. See, they didn't get government to force Walmart to do it. They've demonized Walmart for, you're making all this money and you haven't given anything back. Then Walmart gives out bonuses. Walmart raises its minimum wage and the left is mad. Now, I tell you this all the time because I want you to understand how these people are. They are always angry. Always. You can never satisfy a leftist. For at least 2 weeks, TV networks on the left praised Michael Wolff's book, Fire and Fury. They obsessed over the charge of whether Trump was mentally competent to hold office and even call for his ousting under the 25th Amendment, all based purely on unsubstantiated charges in a book that has now been exposed as largely a work of fiction. Members of the ATDS, that's the anti-Trump derangement syndrome crowd, don't even care whether the information is true or false. They are the, quote, birthers on the left. 1 year in, and Trump's successes are diminished as a result of Obama's policies, which is rich since Trump one by one reversed Obama-era policies. If the economic and stock market had tanked in 2017, liberals would have seized upon the bad news as evidence that Trump's policies were abject failures. Now that the policies are working, Obama gets credit. They are so blinded by anti-Trump derangement syndrome, they can't even acknowledge the double standard. I heard Gorka say on TV the other day, and he was quoting a radio host that said that if it weren't for double standards, the liberals wouldn't have any standards at all. Hayes goes on to say this. I remember at a Wall Street Journal editorial meeting when Barack Obama was first elected president and he was rolling out Obamacare, the stimulus plan, tax increases, a regulatory assault, and a litany of other dim-witted economic policies. One of the writers said what we were all thinking. If this program works, everything we believe on the economy is wrong. That's what I said. He says, we oppose the policies, not the man. And in the end, the Keynesian big government policies were indeed a failure. We ended up with our weakest economic recovery since World War II. It was the weakest economic. To call it a recovery is a joke. We spent almost $10 trillion for this recovery. We essentially, in terms of debt, we created another United States of America. Can you imagine that? And somebody looks upon that and goes, this is a good thing. Barack Obama was he was a failure of unimaginable proportions. And the only thing that propped that sucker up was the fact that you kept working and he borrowed money that we didn't have. And thankfully, we have a person that stepped into his tiny little shoes and put an economy together that could absorb the damage that he's done. I want you to think about not having $10 trillion of debt, having a much lower deficit, and money being spent in the right places, having really and truly fought a war on terror so we can recover those funds, having allowed industry to not have to go through all this onerous legislation that Barack Obama implemented, not destroying our natural resources and the energy industry, which is what he's done. Putting in policies that would actually bring jobs back. If he had done this 9 years ago, this economy would be booming. But he didn't do it. He was too stupid to do it. Says, is it true that opposition to Obama on the right prompted some conservatives to root against American success on his watch? I began this segment, the last segment, by saying exactly that. I rooted against Barack Obama because to go back to his dim-witted economic policies, I knew they couldn't work. Why? Because I actually have a brain. He says, when the International Olympic Committee snubbed Obama's hometown of Chicago, there were videos of conservatives celebrating the bad news. The cascade of disappointing economic data on Obama's watch was too often cheered by Republicans. I'm one of them. You probably are as well. I cheered when they failed because we needed to validate that they weren't working. You would think at some point Barack Obama would have said, I'm going to course correct. Maybe 2010, when he got his butt kicked in the midterms, you would think he would course correct. Do you know what that clown did? He doubled down. He said, I'll teach y'all. He started going around Congress. He said, I don't care what the American people think. He rammed Obamacare down our throats and a host of other unbelievably stupid policies. And yes, I cheered. Stephen Hayes goes on. Some of these Republicans are starting to put politics first and country second, observed then Rep. Chris Van Hollen, a Democrat out of Maryland who is now a senator. The American people are starting to wonder if they're rooting against America, he charged. And he had a point, Hayes writes, back in 2009. But Senator, look in the mirror. Most Americans are not especially ideological. We are ideological for what works. The United States is on a roll right now. And the good economic news transcends political spin. Tens of millions of Americans are starting to see the benefits in their paychecks. If Trump haters continue to sit on their hands and oppose America's comeback, voters will see they are putting political ideology over patriotism. Now, I say this to tell you that we are at the onset of this is the beginning. If you think the Democrats are going to learn any lessons by anything I'm saying, because I'm putting a playbook out there. Support what works. End of story. I would have done it for Obama. Stephen Hayes finishes by saying, that's no winning ticket if you just oppose someone ideologically when his policies are working. And he says it also means they're in for a miserable next 7 years. Again, a guy who I know for a fact was against Trump has now changed his tune. Think about that in terms of the Republicans who didn't support Trump going into 2016. What do you think they're going to do in 2018 and in 2020? They've seen the results. It is going to be a miserable next 7 years for these guys. And it should be. But they should hopefully find some happiness in their paychecks or their 401ks.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. This is Kevin Jackson talking to you. Why am I talking in Italian? I do not know. No, I do. Let me tell you why. Silvio Berlusconi, the former Italian PM, said 600,000 migrants need to leave Italy. Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It is the Kevin Jackson Show. It's not the Kevin Jackson Show today. No, it is the Kevin Jackson Show. And you are part of the resistance. And let me tell you what's going on, folks. You are exporting the American way of life overseas again. It was gone. We've been importing idiocy into our way of life, into our government, into all of our different systems. Healthcare. Oh, we need a single payer. We need government-sponsored healthcare. Government does nothing well. Nothing. The only thing government does well is it kills its citizens, kills them with amazing expertise in that area. I can tell you, I could give you just item after item, area after area where you let the government get control of it, and man, they're going to fleece you, and then you're going to die. Because once they get everything they can out of you and they sucked you dry, they toss you under the bus. The former PM of Italy, immigration has become an urgent question because after years with a left-wing government, there are 600,000 migrants who don't have the right to stay. We consider it to be an absolute priority to regain control over the situation. This, folks, is Italy. This is Europe, where there's supposed to be open borders and all accepting. Do you understand why Brexit occurred? Europe, the Brits said enough is enough. Stop forcing in all these other cultures and crushing the identity of Britain. Here's what Berlusconi went on to say. He says, when we're in government, we will invest many resources in security. We will boost police presence and reintroduce the Safe Streets Initiative. Our soldiers will patrol the streets alongside police officers. He's saying we have lost who we are. We've lost our soul. Nothing is safe. These are great ideas, by the way. You know, if they wanted to make, use this as an example. If they wanted to make black neighborhoods safe, bring in the National Guard. Oh, you can't do that, Kevin, because then it would be racist that you have more protections in the neighborhoods where they need it. Can you imagine you're out and about and you can go out at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night because there are armed military personnel ready to protect you all along the block. Now, if it were the Black Panthers, the left would go, look at that. That's just so wonderful what they've done. That is our civilian core of helping people. But if it were militia, they would, look at those crazy militia people, the Tea Party trying to menacing black folks. If it's the military, same thing. If they wanted to make safer neighborhoods, do you really think that they couldn't do it? I mean, we have a lot of stuff at our disposal. In Ferguson, Missouri, they had armed police officers that watched looters loot stores, given the order by the then Governor Jay Nixon to stand down. You have areas in Europe, or well, not just Europe, you have areas around the world that you cannot go. They are called no-go zones. In my wildest dreams, I wouldn't have believed that those types of things are possible in free countries. In a rousing statement that they say will resonate around the EU, Berlusconi said, today, Italy counts for nothing in Brussels and the world. We will make it count again. He's talking about the EU, the European Union. His comments come amid growing racial tensions in Italy. An African drug dealer is believed to have cut up an Italian teenager's body and dumped her in the countryside. And then a member of an anti-migrant group shot at 6 African men in Macerata. Berlusconi's Forza Italia has forged an alliance with 2 right-wing parties, the Northern League and the smaller borders of Italy, for the elections on March the 4th. He wants back in. Why? To save Italy. Now, let me tell you what's going on with these migrants, these African migrants. The problem is this. When Kevin Jackson goes to Italy, they're not going to see Kevin Jackson, the American. They're going to see an African. And they're going to lump me in with those clowns that are cutting people up and putting them on the countryside. And I don't like that, because I just want to go and have some of that delicious food. I don't want to go over there and get embroiled in their political nonsense. Wouldn't it be nice, I'm just saying as a black dude, to travel the world and people go, oh, there's a man to be respected. But no, we got migrants who are pretty much uncivilized, living in these, okay, let's go ahead and say it, crap holes. You can use whatever word you want. You don't have the FCC breathing down your neck. But you know what I'm saying? These people come from these places, third world nations. They have a care in the world about how other people govern themselves. And they're setting the standard. Now, black Americans, There used to be a time when you would go to Europe and you were free because Europe looked at blacks and went, shoot, man, they're oppressed in America. We embrace you, my brother. What's up? You know, they were ready to go. Most of the big jazz guys, the big band guys, they love playing overseas, particularly in Europe, because they felt human. You think that's going to last? You think these people are looking at blacks now and going, oh, they're cool? No. The birth of the cool, that was a Miles Davis album. It's over. For blacks, they look at you now as, these are the people that probably Islam or, ex-RFU, Russia, African gang members, whatever. And yeah, it's a horrible thing to consider. Mass illegal migration leads to social disharmony. The EU's ridiculous open border policy needs to be changed immediately. The Italian people will have no chance, or I should say, this is what I'm reading here. It says they will have a chance to strike a blow at this mass migration madness in the election. See, they get it. They're done with it. And I don't blame them. Anyway, we got a ton to talk about. I'm going to tell you another reason why the Republicans are going to win. It's a Bernie Goldberg piece that I read, and fascinating piece. And then I may do a little listener stuff. We'll see if we get to it. Folks, you're listening to Kevin Jackson, kjradio.com.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Let's do a little viewer mail. Got this message from a guy, his name is Steve. He says, saw Kevin on Fox this morning. Excellent. He wants the weekly email or whatever. He says he wants to receive it. He says he started calling himself a European America. Why can't we just be Americans? How do you feel about that one? Here's my help request. He says, I am more than tired and agitated at being called a racist and white supremacist, or as the nouveau nitwits say, supremacist. Simply because I'm white. Actually, a tepid off-white, depending on the light in the room, how much sleep I got, or how generally stupid I'm feeling in any of my particularly slack-jawed, idiot, conservative moron days. There is Georgian heritage. Not the Caucasus in my family. Some are of that ilk, however, I am not. Seems there is no end to these morons lying to the poor, potentially brilliant yet empty-headed useful idiots to cause trouble and chaos. I've been threatened by their thugs, almost exclusively the white thugs, when attempting to engage in reasoned exchange, moderate debate. Upon reaching the end of their illogical rhetoric, they begin physically crowding and verbally attacking to encourage my departure from the premises. Despite my predilection for the exact opposite of racist, I am now finding myself guarded and wary around not only all university high school age, but also most black people. I lost the job because of one work release individual who happened to be black. I was helping with rides and was under my supervision, who would not get the work done before the end of a shift, for which I was blamed and fired. A neighbor whom I had assisted with transportation and friendship damaged my car, robbed one of my neighbors, being threatened by another guy at work, and the leveled stares and no response silence from the renters across the street for over a year, even after I helped one of their kids numerous times with their vehicles, dead batteries, locked out, etc. Heard Tommy Sotomayor say white people should be wary. The leftists are intentionally trying to drive us apart and cause violence and chaos, aren't they? Like most crazy political ideologues, they create problems for which they then claim to have solutions. Had a teacher back in the early 80s who used to say the next wars would be race wars. Thought it was absurd then. I don't like this. Any suggestions? Enjoyed hearing you this morning, Steve. Yeah, Steve, I have a suggestion for you. Toughen up, Buttercup. It's going to keep on happening. See, what will happen is the neighbors that stare at you when they come to ask for your help, their son does, you say, not going to help you. I've helped you 3 times. You haven't said thank you. Your parents don't even come out to talk to me. Why would I help you anymore? People at your job, they want you to be a cream puff. They want you to be the person that's like, well, I mean, it's okay, or whatever. The minute you start standing up for yourself and say, look, I got nothing to do with your problems. What, you think I don't have problems? What, I don't have kids? I don't have a relationship? Well, screw your problems. We all have problems. Do I look like a Chippendale dancer? Do I look like I'm hanging out on somebody's yacht? Do I look like a person that's waiting on some... Do you see some white dude coming by here bringing me a fat paycheck? Do I drive a Ferrari and park it in front of your house and flaunt? What exactly is it that I'm doing that's so different? I work at the same job as you. I live in the same neighborhood as you. Explain to me where the privilege is. Because if I'm privileged, why do I have to see your sorry behinds? See, that's what you got to say. You have to be worried. Let me tell you, and here's the thing. The people sense weakness. They sense when you're one of those bleeding hearts, a person that they're going to be able to get over on. Well, man, you just don't understand the plight of a black man. What? What are you going to tell me that I don't understand? Have you been a slave? Well, my peoples were you, fool? Because if you weren't, I don't want to hear about it. You know, you're oppressed. What, black people can't get a job in America? Somebody better tell LeBron. Somebody better tell, whoever, Stephen Curry, Denzel Washington. Somebody better go tell all these black people I see working all day long that you can't get a job. Brother can't catch a break. Y'all, look, I'm just going to tell you, if you want to put up with that kind of nonsense, don't come running to me, because I'm telling you, I wouldn't. It's like there are panhandlers. They'll be, hey, listen, can you help her? No, I can't help you. And it isn't. It's not saying we've helped. I've helped panhandlers, but I'm saying I don't have to help every one of them. Somebody goes, hey, listen, you got $1? No, or yeah, I do, but you ain't getting it. It's my money, my time, whatever. You're not getting it. Let me move on, Steve. Hopefully, I helped you. I wasn't getting after Steve, by the way. So a lady sends me a note on Facebook about the Eagles, and she says, just thought you might like to know that your posting of the video showing Super Bowl festivities in Philly is being taken out of context. No fires that did any property damage was set. And according to local news, only 3 arrests citywide were made. I'm a fan of the Black Sphere, but I have no idea why you would want to perpetuate the myth that Philadelphians are thugs. Come to our beautiful city and judge for yourself. And I responded. I said, I don't know what post you're talking about. I didn't see this video, whatever, because there are multiple people that we partner with and they post, and they're not all my stuff. I didn't write or post anything about Philly. This is what I said to her. I said, your pride in Philadelphia notwithstanding, Philadelphia is an armpit. My son, oldest son, is a Wharton grad, so I know the city well. It's just another leftist-run cesspool. Congratulations on winning a football game, but that's all it was, a game. The things people face day to day in that city, and all cities, if it makes you feel better, is atrocious and un-American. Now look, so I'm done. That's what I said to her. I get it. She wants to feel pride. She wants to feel good. We won. Look, I'm not the one reporting what happened. From what I was told, it was pretty bad in Philadelphia. They won the Super Bowl, and like most of these cities, when they win the pennant or they win the basketball championship or whatever, people go nutty, and kids turn over cars, set fire to stuff. I don't get it. It's not just Philadelphia. It doesn't happen in urban America, for the most part. I mean, somebody wins the big football game. I can tell you, being from a little bitty town, we just were like happy. We threw a parade. Everybody was good. Nobody burned anything. I don't even know what would come into your mind to go, we won. Let's go destroy some stuff. Yeah. I don't get it. But it happens in every city. And let me tell you what's universal to all of them. A bunch of leftists, cities run by leftists, and they don't really care about law enforcement. So there you have it. It's not just Philadelphia. But don't try to convince me Philadelphia is some wonderful place. My son, when I dropped my oldest son out of Wharton, he was like, woo. And we were shocked. Because he'd come from Princeton, where it's back off into the hills. And, it looked like a big plantation school. Wharton was right in the middle of the war zone. He couldn't figure it out. Don't get over yourself, lady.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Happy days are here again. Ba-da-da-dum. Why Republicans will win in 2018 again. Oh, man. Happy days are here again, folks. Welcome. Kevin Jackson Show. That's what you're listening to. kjradio.com, 844-551-8255. Yeah. See, Bernie Goldberg wrote a story. I saw it and went, I could take a lot from this story because it's the way it is. It's exactly the way I sum things up. And sometimes it's just better to let other people speak for you in this regard. And I've been saying to you guys, Republicans are, first of all, let's just go back. Let's backtrack. You do know I killed Osama bin Laden, right? I'm going to go back and tell you, I predicted Donald Trump would win, talking people off the ledge. People didn't believe me. Kevin, are you sure? I did. And I've already told you guys, in 2018, we will clean the clocks of the leftists. End of story. They've made themselves feel good through nonsense. When you are in their position, you have to look for things to be happy about. And they still aren't happy. They aren't happy about their 401ks. They're not happy about their new jobs, their new increase in income. They're not happy about the increase of corporations that are automatically adjusting their wages automatically beyond minimum wage. They're not happy. They're not happy that Donald Trump is lessening the wars. He's kicking ISIS's butt. Have you guys even been keeping up with this? They're not happy that North Korea, as crazy as they are, is that they are more tame right now than they've ever been. Iran has marches going on in every city because the people are uprising and they are on the ropes. I mean, you name it. It's better news. We're probably going to get, and there's no probably, we will get immigration reform the way Americans, conservative Americans want. A few concessions here and there, and that's that. We will get our wall. We're going to get more prosperity, companies coming back. I could name stuff until I'm blue in the face. There are so many reasons to be happy. Black folks are getting jobs, unemployment at the lowest level, Latinos, women, young people going back to work, Obamacare about to be trashed, businesses exuberant, happy in fact. We're rooting out evil inside of this government. We have people conspiring against us, and that's why I said earlier, we are the resistance. And you know what? The resistance is paying off. We're winning. As crazy as it sounds, we are. So the left, as much as they don't like that, you would think they'd say, you know what? We're cleaning things up. Look at what these Republicans have uncovered about the FBI, what they've uncovered about Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. You know what? We've been blaming these guys for decades, and when in fact they've been right. We're sorry, Republicans. You got anything close to that? The answer is no. So the Democrats, they want to run on history. See, this should not be a good year for us. You do recall in 2010 and 2014, we kicked the living crap out of Barack Obama and the Democrats, both midterm elections. To add insult to injury, during that 8-year tenure of Barack Obama, the worst president in American history, the Democrats lost more seats than they can shake a stick at, well over 1,000. Now, they've won a couple, and they're all exuberant. We're so happy. Oh, look at us. We are so good. They are in complete disarray. I'm not even going to bore you with the details. They can't stand each other. There are factions inside of there that are fighting so hard you wouldn't even, you don't know who's brother and sister. You know what I mean? It's just a free-for-all, just punching each other out. But Bernie Goldberg writes this. He says, if history is any indication, Republicans could be in for a nasty November. The party of first-term presidents almost always loses House seats in the midterm elections. And having an especially controversial and polarizing president in the White House probably won't help Republicans. That's what Goldberg says. Trump is polarizing and controversial. But the GOP might have a secret weapon working in its favor this time around. Yes, a booming economy, but that's not the ace in the hole. Goldberg says, nope, leave that to the Democrats. Well, I don't agree with Bernie Goldberg in all of this because I believe Donald Trump is the ace in the hole. I believe more people like Donald Trump than anybody wants to admit, including these never-Trumpers and the anti-Trumpers that exist on our side of the aisle. And I point back to his State of the Union message where 97% of the Republicans said, we like the message. You can't just like his message. You love his message because he's spot on with his message. That's not going away. 43% of Democrats, 72% of independents. Now, I'm going to refer back to that poll from time to time because I just want to remind you that this is the person that they call polarizing and controversial. Donald Trump's no longer controversial. His tweets are no longer controversial. His actions are no longer controversial. People don't go, he's a crazy man. They've got a year of him under their belt. He hasn't started any new wars. He's ending them. In fact, they're pulling troops back from Afghanistan. That's how good he feels about ISIS being on the run. He's got governments working against the war on terror. He's practically gotten everything he's asked for. And let me tell you, DACA's coming. And he will win on DACA, and he's made the Democrats look like they don't want to negotiate. He's shown them for who they really are. They're just liars. Anyway, Goldberg goes on. He says, I'm guessing Donald Trump and the Republican Party colluded with whoever called the camera shots during the president's State of the Union address. There she was, Nancy Pelosi, dressed in black and looking miserable, as if she were attending a funeral. Okay, no one expected her to jump up and applaud for the president she detests. But she couldn't even muster a few fake hand claps when he said it was a good thing that American workers are getting bonuses thanks to the new tax law, which, of course, she and her party had absolutely nothing to do with. See, Bernie's saying what I've been saying to you guys for a long time. Donald Trump's tax cuts affect millions of people. Millions. 90% of this country gets something. All right? The workers, I should say, get something back. Even probably some people on welfare may get a little. I don't know. But 90% of them get something. And the Democrats did not have a single vote for that. They essentially said, we don't want you to have anything. And the little that came back in the form of tax bonuses and things like that from the corporations, Nancy Pelosi called them crumbs. We'll get back to that. Says, why would Nancy applaud? This is the same Nancy Pelosi, one of the richest members of Congress, who said that those bonuses amounted to crumbs. A few $1,000 may be crumbs to her and her Tony pals in San Francisco, but it's real money to real people with real jobs trying to pay real bills. That's the Romney 47% comment on steroids. The Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot. Goldberg goes on to say this, and when the president pointed out the black unemployment was at a historically low level, you'd think that might at least get a grudging response from the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, the ones who didn't boycott the president's address. But you'd be wrong. Camera caught them sitting on their hands looking glum. So president's saying, hey, we just lowered unemployment for blacks to record levels or whatever, and they're like mad. So if I'm a constituent of one of these congressional black circus clowns, I'd go, why wouldn't you clap for that, man? That's, whether you like the dude or not, that's good news. I already told you why they won't they clap though. It says, hats off to Gayle King of CBS for her honesty when she said many of the Democrats at many times looked like they had bitten a couple of lemons, even when he was saying things most people agree with. This is where the danger comes in. This is where, quite frankly, I would call it genius, but this isn't really genius. This is Donald Trump saying, I connect with the ordinary guy. He's quoted as saying this, I don't really like rich people. I like middle income and poor people. He goes, I like being around them. They're more real. And this billionaire connects with those guys because he puts himself in their situations. Donald Trump sees $1,000 and the average rich person would go, it's not much. They were like, oh, it's not much. Donald Trump sees it for what it is. He's like, man, that's big money. There are people that's big money for. To him, it's not. But he sees it for what it is. You want to know why? Because he's worked for it. He's had to earn that $1,000. And he goes, you know what? That's not that easy. I remember when these other people, it's come so easy, they don't even know how they make it. And that's the problem. They have no connection to their populace anymore. In a strange sort of way, Donald Trump has stolen the idea that the Democrats are the party of the poor and the downtrodden and the working class, and he's given that mantle to the Republicans. And that's going to be the demise of the left. I got to take a short break, but we'll be back.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Dr. Feel Good here, Kevin Jackson. And the reason why you should be feeling good is because you're part of the resistance Your resistance is working. It is not futile. In fact, it is winning. You are winning because of your resistance. And I'm talking about why you can have comfort right now. We're talking about February, and you can have comfort that we are going to win in November and win big. And historically, we shouldn't. First-term presidents usually lose in the midterms. You want to know why? It's a daunting task. They've underestimated what they think they're going to inherit. And they've overinflated the problems that they've inherited. It's exactly what Barack Obama did. I inherited all this mess. Look at all this mess here. And so if it's such a big mess, you would think you could make progress. He didn't. Barack Obama, the unemployment rate went up. The number of jobs this guy lost was tremendous. He lost like 4 to 5 million jobs his first year. Wages depressed, down. Foreign policy, a disaster. There was nothing this guy touched that didn't turn to turd. Contrast that with Trump, who looked at what he got from Obama and went, this is easy. He starts saving companies. Okay, Ford, Carrier, IBM, U.S. Steel, Dow, come on back. And then all these jobs are getting created. He says, let's work on the bigger picture. So he's got Apple and all these other companies, Alibaba, SoftBank, they're all coming in, multinationals. In the meantime, he's bombing Syria and setting a new standard on what the United States was going to, be doing. He goes on a trip to the Middle East, brings back a $350 million package for arms, and says to the Saudis, "You got to do what you do on terror, or else we're going to take away the market from you." Then he does the same thing in China. He goes there and he beats up on Chinese, and they send a ship from North Korea back with coal, bring ours over. He gets beef exported now from the United States to China and 183 other products. He starts working on trade. He starts working on stabilizing the dollar and a host of other things. And oh, wow, in the meantime, the unemployment rate is dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. 2.4 million jobs later, year one. 200,000 manufacturing jobs a year later, 17,000 that were lost under Obama the year before, and Donald Trump looks like a rock star. Stock market going through the roof. Yeah, it took a hit a couple of days, recovered the next day. People, panicked a bit. The market is always going to get the suckers out. It's going to, and then people run and somebody goes, "Oh, look at what they left behind. I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that." So there you go. So the Democrats are all fired up because historically that's what happens. But what they don't understand is historically their presidents suck. Whether it's Bush, whether it was Clinton, whether it was certainly Obama, they sucked. Not Trump. According to a poll conducted by CBS, an overwhelming majority of Americans thought the president was trying to unite the country. And that speech made them feel very proud. But that wasn't the reaction of progressives, the wing of the Democrats party that's calling the shots. To progressives, even good news is bad news if Trump is involved. Actually, it's worse than that. They say the better the news for the American people, the worse it is for the Democratic Party. Bad news would practically assure a blue wave in November. Too much good news would present problems for the Democrats. Folks, let me tell you something. Be optimistic. Be out there starting those jobs. Be out there spending, but spend wisely. Invest. Look for things that are going to be proactive in the general society. Bernie goes on to say, ordinary Americans are optimistic people, but optimism isn't something Democrats want to convey to voters in an election year where they're the party on the outside looking in. See, we're talking ideology here. That's why Manchin, I keep talking about him, he's trying to pretend that he's now more conservative, and that's why Mike Pence called him out. Anyway, here's what, it's funny to watch the reactions of these leftists. They said after the president's speech, Micah Brzezinski, co-host of a Trump-bashing morning show on MSNBC, asked why Democrats should applaud, quote, the great dictator. She may not be an important voice in mainstream America, but she is right there in the mainstream of the progressive left, where her great dictator crack doesn't come off as unhinged as it actually is. So what he's saying, Bernie Goldberg's piece, what he says right there is this. To the left, to the progressives, they buy into this. He's a crackpot. He's a great dictator. But to mainstream America, who the left is completely disjointed from, they look at her and go, these people are unhinged. This guy just put money back in my pocket. This guy just got me a job. This guy just got my cousin, my wife, my son a new job. This guy just raised my wages. Even if you didn't get a rate increase in your wages, you got a rate increase from your taxes. CNN's Van Jones, who was a former advisor to President Obama, compared Trump's speech to, quote, sweet-tasting candy with poison in it. Another CNN contributor, far-left author named Sally Cohn, called it a scary speech and said that people chanting USA, get this, sends chills down her spine. These are not alien views in progressive precincts. Goldberg goes on to write this, and Joy Reid of MSNBC tweeted this after the president's speech. Church, family, police, military, the national anthem. Trump trying to call on all the tropes of the 1950s era nationalism. 1950s era nationalism. Meant to be a dog whistle for slavery, lack of civil rights, blah, blah, blah. Church, family, police, military, the national anthem. All things that we pretty much revere in life. I'm going to repeat it. Church, family, police, military, the national anthem. Somebody show me where I'm wrong here. Tell me, what should I feel bad about? Is it the police? Oh my God. Kevin, you are black. Those cops will kill you. Funny that they say that, because I'm making a movie called Bleeding Blue that extols the virtues of being police officers. BleedingBlueMovie.com. Not so shameless plug. She says this, the goal of the speech appears to be to force the normalization of Trump on the terms of a bygone era his supporters are nostalgic for. Folks, are you nostalgic for church, family, police, military, and the national anthem? What's nostalgic? That's every day. Oh, so what? We should abandon the church? I'll tell you what, Joy. Well, because what she's saying is the heck with the church, the heck with family, the heck with police, military, and the national anthem. We're a new day. We're the new progressive party. Woohoo, look at us. As Heather Wilhelm wrote in National Review, I can see the campaign posters now. Can't stand church and family? Neither can we. Vote for the Democrats in 2018. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? Yes, and so is this. Pelosi says the president's immigration plan is designed to, quote, make America white again. How do you think that nonsense plays in middle America, even among voters who don't especially like the president? Are we supposed to believe that anyone who supports the Republican Party on immigration isn't simply wrong, but is racist? The economy may not be enough to save the GOP in November, but if it isn't, desperate Democrats sounding deranged just might be. That's the end of Bernie Goldberg's article. Let me tell you, folks, if you were paying attention to what I said there, you can't even recognize these people as Americans. Joy Reid doesn't like church, family, police, military, or the national anthem. Okay, so we get rid of the military? What do you want to do with them? Oh, that civilian thing that Barack Obama built? You get rid of the police. Who's going to protect you? The shot caller in your neighborhood? And God forbid, the idea that this woman doesn't like church and family, I find that she would mention that is incredible to me. It's incredible. That's what the left represents. And that's why Heather Wilhelm essentially pointed out, this is the lunacy of the left, and they think they're going to win on this. Forget the great things that Donald Trump is doing. They are making people so mad. They are showcasing just how bad things are on the left. Why would you ever want to join them? You are going to see the biggest exodus of Democrats in history in 2018.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.